Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about gang stalking and a little bit about what's going on in our world at this time. So, a lot of people who are known as targeted individuals have been basically coming out and saying that they've been harassed in ways that they say is very cruel and harsh, not quite physical directly, like not physical torture, but like emotional, psychological agitation torture. Target individuals. So, for example, one example of this could be like you go to a fast food place and somebody behind you standing in line will, say something to somebody else that they're standing with, the person they're with, and they'll kind of hint at like, okay, they're talking about me. You know what I mean? Like, that's me. And it's not just one time that this happens. This happens like 14 times in like a period of like 6 to 4 months. And so this has become known as gang stalking. But also it's not just that kind of stuff that happens. It's other stuff too. For example, like helicopter abuse, like you're at your apartment and suddenly a helicopter comes by and starts circling your apartment, not one time, but your particular apartment, just about every week, for like an hour or two, right above your head. Another thing that could happen, for example, is, um, you know, so much as even destroying an apartment that you live across the street that's across the street from you, uh, only to build another one in its place, because they know that you're there, and all of this kind of weird, like shady stuff starts happening all together in one time, and a person really starts wondering, well, like, what the hell is going on? Like, who caused this? Who's behind this? What's really happening? Uh, Friends could turn on you, family members could turn on you, and so on and so forth. Now, here's what I found to be true about this entire phenomena. First of all, we have to understand that we have to lay down some groundwork for this to be answered. The first of which is that, um, you know, this is a spiritual world. First of all, so like there's spiritual forces at play, and I'm not saying that the people doing this are possessed, but I am saying that if you are targeted and this starts happening to you, it honestly means that you might have something that these targeters, that these perpetrators, these gang stalkers want. They have something that you have, or they see that you have some kind of spiritual light in you. So whoever's behind this, the Freemasons, I don't know who's behind it, the government, some cult is behind it. And it has to do with the government, I do think, more or less. And so these perpetrators are sent onto a person to harass them and annoy them and bother them because they feel that this person has some kind of spiritual light in them, or some sort of spiritual magic in them that can only be put to use through this kind of treatment toward you. And what I mean is that, of course, it's not okay that they're doing this, but they believe, these people who are doing this, they believe they have the answers, and they believe that they have this, like, occult thing figured out. Now, I don't know for sure how the occult works. Don't get it twisted. But I do think that, devils attack those of us who are weak in faith, weak in righteousness. So it's usually those two things. And there's other things too, like generational curses and stuff that's passed on to you from your actual ancestors, your biological ancestors. They can have done bad things in the occult and witchcraft and stuff like that, and it eventually passes down the lineage spiritually down to you, and next thing you know, you have all this fucked up energy coming your way in life. But in reality, I don't think, to be honest with you, that these people are like demons sent to harass you, but I do think demons might be in them. But really, what I think is that it's like it is some kind of, underground semi-government thing going on to harass certain people. Now, I'm not saying that you're being harassed because you have a certain light in you and they're harassing you because they want to get your light, or they're harassing you because they see something weak in you or weaken faith in you and they're bullying you because of that, because they're like these super uptight, like perfect saint angel believer in people. But what I do think is that they're harassing you to get something out of you, to push some kind of energy through you out of you, because it might be that in the unseen or the occult world, that abuse energy goes somewhere. And it does say in certain scriptures and religions that the best of us are the ones who are most tested. The prophets are the most tested ones, whether you believe them or not. But it's basically teaching us a message that the better you are as a person, more high quality as you are a soul, the more tested you actually might be. The reason why the high quality people are tested is because the devil doesn't like high quality people who don't sin. The devil prefers people who are wicked, arrogant, faithless, and perpetrating and facilitating evil and things like murder, pedophilia, thievery, lying, things like that. Okay, I think that this is a semi government thing. They're not fully the government. They're not fully nobodies. They're somewhere in between. They're not just thugs who are suddenly circling your apartment. There is some kind of intelligence behind all of this, and that's causing this to happen. So organized. So I don't think it's just random like demonic beings circling your apartment with a helicopter, or suddenly you go to like a restaurant and somebody says your name there, you know what I mean, like the guy working there, and every 2 out of 3 places you go, people start acting weird to you and start giving you looks, or like, you know what I mean, like people know where you're gonna go, so they prepare to be there, meet you there or something. But I do think that these perpetrators, they see something in you, whether that's you have this light in you, they're trying to beat the abuse energy out of you through this agitation and torture to make this energy go somewhere. So in other words, they're involuntarily using you without your voluntary consent as a soldier. Because they probably do know how the supernatural, the spiritual stuff, energy works, or they're actually trying to beat the weakness out of you and your faithlessness and righteousness, so that you fall back to returning to God and recede back and revert back to your spiritual default, which is basically believing in God and hating evil and the devil. But I didn't really go into this next part of this video really too much yet, but I just wanted to kind of explain how, we do live in a spiritual world. There is evil forces, like I mentioned a couple sins earlier in this video. There's also good forces that are opposing this. There's energy. Evil is energy, good is energy. Everything is energy in our world. So if you make somebody feel bad, that's evil. But it's only evil if you did it with a bad intention for them, and you did it through an evil means. And so some people will use certain actions and certain ways of being, and certain societal norms and societal thingies, cheeky things, to get something out of the others around them. And that's how I personally see it. Okay, so this is a spiritual war. There's evil forces, good forces. The world doesn't have to be anyway. The world is so much different now than it was before. Like, let's say 40 years ago, things have gotten much worse in the surface level, but underneath, we've taken out a lot of the demonic and a lot of the, stuff that was under the rug that needs to come out. Because the thing I do know is that even in the last, let's say, 15 years, the world has changed. I remember when I was young, the energy in the world was very thick. The air was very thick, so to speak, and it was like, like everything was very kind of more abundant. It was more easy to walk in the world. I felt an energy, an atmosphere of abundance, of love. But nowadays, especially the last, let's say, 10, 12 years, it's been really difficult to even navigate through our world, because you can feel the energy is very hard, and there's tension, there's anxiety. And this is all, of course, spiritual warfare playing out. And I'm not talking about fighting people fist to fist. I'm talking about the psychological and emotional strain on daily life that attacks you and others. Did he look at me? How do I approach this person? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? All that stuff that we all know and do. Insecurities and all that other spiritual stuff. This is not peaceful. This is not a sign of peace. This is a sign of war. In reality, peace is like... peace is basically like, having no worries, living righteously, and supporting everybody, supports each other and stands up for what's right. And the energy is tamed, and good people don't feel, highs. I mean, bad people don't feel highs, and good people are kind of opposing in a spiritual way the evil of the world. So the world has changed for the better. It just appears like it has gotten worse, but that's because war has been continuously waged on the world, and it's been continuously being waged. Now, the thing about the devil is that he'll never fully die. The devil will not ever fully be dead. He can be eradicated. Evil and hatred and negative energy can be eradicated. 20, 30 years ago, the energy was full of love in our world. And, of course, the Satanists, the devil worshippers, the evil people, like I mentioned earlier, those who come to steal, destroy, murder, fornicate, spread corruption, spread sorcery. This kind of stuff is being brought up to the surface, and it got exposed finally. So we're basically going through a cleaning under the carpet kind of period. And again, 30 years ago, the energy in this world, from what I have observed, because I'm not 30, but I've observed it in videos, and I remember from when I was younger, it seems like everything was much more peaceful, and there was much more less worry about the evildoers, because everything seemed oppressed. We were oppressing them. Surely there was probably a lot of evil that was happening, but energetically speaking, the oppression was there. The anti-evil was there, to where you can't really get up and feel that gratification of evil being done on your part. So really, it's energetic, and this stuff can be controlled, and we can get to the point where people who do evil actually feel bad instead of good. That's clearly the aim of the world, and I think our leaders too want this to happen.